Okay, so for my very first ever YouTube video, I'm going to do the classic coming out story. And I'm recording on this really basic Logitech camcorder, so I'm going to have to do everything in one take. There's no cutting or editing because there isn't even a pause button on this webcam. So anyway, I can't remember whether I came out to my parents first or my high school buddies. So I'm just going to pick one and just tell the story from there. I just remember being super nervous the whole day, and because, it was probably at that time the scariest thing that I'd ever done in my life, because I didn't know how they were going to react, whether it was going to be a horrible experience where I'd lose friends, or in the case of my parents, lose family relations. In any event, I'll start with the high school buddy story first. This was, I guess I was 19 at the time, in university, and had arranged to get together with two of my high school buddies. We still hung out even after high school, because we were all going to university. I think we were planning to go out to the arcades on a weekend night, and I remember getting in the car with them and telling them that I had something to tell them. And I remember my friend Andy was driving. I was in the passenger seat, and my other friend Tom was in the back seat. And I just told them that I had something to tell them, and they both could tell that, it was probably something important. And because I was just struggling the whole time. I was so nervous. And at one point, they said, well, are you moving away or something? Like, are your parents getting a divorce? And I was like, no, nothing like that. And then I can't remember who, I think it was Andy, who jokingly said, well, you're not going to tell us that you're gay or something, are you? And as soon as he said that, I think I almost felt a sense of relief, because that was exactly what I was going to tell them. And so I took that opportunity and ran with it, and I said, well, actually, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you guys. And I remember my heart was racing, pounding under my chest like crazy. And I think Andy, who had made the joke earlier, was just instantly speechless. And Tom, in the back seat, was amazingly accepting of it. Like, it didn't faze him at all, and we just kind of continued carrying on, or they probably had asked me questions, but Andy was like really silent, and it's weird because I felt like, of all my friends, he would have been the one that would have been the most accepting, but in that moment he was super quiet. And I guess I realized afterwards that he was accepting, but he was quiet because as all high school kids do, especially guys, we would rib each other all the time and make kind of homophobic jokes and things like that. And I remember him telling me, or apologizing afterwards, for making gay jokes. and, you know, calling me fag and things like that. I mean, we all used to do that with each other. I think it was pretty typical, you know, high school behavior. But anyway, overall, I think both my friends actually took my coming out really well. I was very, very pleasantly surprised. What was that? Anyway, so I mean, it ended up being not that big of a deal, but it's something that you kind of build up within yourself, because it's the fear of the unknown, basically, because you don't know how these people are going to react. But like everyone else who's gone through it, I think this huge burden is lifted off of your shoulders, and it's almost like you can breathe again. I mean, it's still a process. Even after you've told your friends, they still need time to adjust to the fact. But, you know, deep down they know that you're still the same person that you've always been. It's just this one other facet of your life that they weren't aware of before, and now it's just like they know something else about you. I mean, it's not just a something, it's a pretty major thing, but you can begin living your life of truth, basically. You don't have to hide or lie anymore, or, you know, go along pretending that you liked girls and things like that. And definitely all the gay and homophobic ribbing and joking actually stopped happening after that point. And I think for my friend Andy, it was really a pretty profound thing, and I think it affected him a lot, in that because he felt like really guilty thinking about things in the past that, and again, I realize it was all joking and things like that, but it just showed his character, that he was really concerned of how I might have been affected by, you know, all those kind of ribbing and joking in the past. But anyway, it obviously turned out really well, because they didn't drop me as a friend. You know, we continued being friends, and everything was awesome. So I was pretty lucky compared to other people who had kind of unfortunate horror stories. The same thing with my parents. They actually ended up accepting it pretty well. My dad actually, right from the start, was pretty much like, okay, so what, you're gay, not a big deal. I think I found out from my from my father afterwards, that it was a little bit harder process for her. I remember after telling them, I'd sat them down, and again, it was a thing that I had built up all day, saying that I had something to tell them. And when I finally sat them down and told them, the first words out of her mouth were, "I'm shocked." And, you know, I guess she had no idea. Maybe she was thinking I was telling them that I had a drug problem or something like that. I don't know what. Anyway, it did take her a little longer to process and accept, again, in part, I believe, due to feelings of guilt. My main concern with them was that they didn't feel like they did anything wrong. I wanted to make sure that that was never, or that they never should have thought that. And I think it's a natural thing for parents to think when their kids tell them, you know, what did I do wrong? Like, what did I do to cause my child to be gay? And to help her especially, I remember getting all these coming out books, and I gave them to her to read, and I think they really helped a lot in alleviating those fears that maybe she had done something wrong, or done something to cause me to be gay. So again, I have to say I've been pretty lucky with my parents. There was no being disowned or being kicked out of the house or anything like that, where you've heard some of these other sad stories that other people go through. I really have to say that I'm lucky, especially being an only child and coming from the Asian culture. I really was really fortunate with my parents basically accepting me for who I am. Anyway, those were my initial coming out stories, and as somebody said, coming out really for all of us is a lifelong process. Every time you meet somebody new, you kind of go through the whole process again of deciding when basically to tell the new person in your life. It's not a matter of whether or not anymore, at least for me, because I'm committed to living my life now as truthfully as I can, and I think that's the most healthy way that you could live. I mean, you just have to be you, and people are going to have to either accept you for who you are or they won't. And there really isn't anything you can do to control other people's feelings and concerns, but as long as you're being yourself and you're living your life as truthfully as you can, you end up being a lot happier. You don't have to hide things, you don't have to make up stories, you don't have to pretend to be someone that you're not. Anyway, that's my story, coming out stories, initial ones, and again, it gets easier each time, really, as you grow to be more comfortable with yourself and accepting the fact that you're gay. I mean, that's a whole process in itself, is first accepting it for yourself and just being comfortable with who you really are. Anyway, rambling on, so I guess I'll just stop for now, and thanks for listening. Hopefully this helps somebody else who's in the process of coming out as well. And that's all I can do is share my story and hopefully help somebody else with the process. Alright, till next time.